This is the Portland Real Estate Podcast, your number one place for anything you need to know about the Portland real estate market, along with in-depth interviews from our local real estate industry experts. Now, without further ado, here are our hosts, Tucker Merrihew from TTM Development Company and Steve Nassar from Premier Property Group. All right, welcome everybody out there in listener land. This is the Portland Real Estate Podcast. As you heard in the intro, this is going to be an absolutely amazing show. It's new to me, it's new to you guys, but I know you guys are going to absolutely dig it. Now, this show is called the Portland Real Estate Podcast, and it is going to be all about Portland real estate, the real estate market, the real estate industry, and any kind of important or real estate related topics that we as Portlanders deal with or see out there in the marketplace. Now, there's a lot that goes into that, and to create a show like this, it takes a lot of work, but it also takes a lot of experience within the Portland real estate trenches. And that's why, for this show, I have put together what I feel are two great co-hosts, myself being a host and then a co-host, of course. And before I dive too much into who I am and what we're going to be talking about in the show, I want to introduce you guys to our co-host, and that is Steve Nassar from Premier Property Group, a longtime friend and somebody that has been in the business for a long time as well. So, Steve, welcome to the show. Thanks for being my co-host.
Thank you, Tucker. I appreciate it, and I'm excited to be here.
So before we let you kind of dive in and tell everybody out there in listener land who Steve is and what you got going on right now, I just want to give everybody a little bit of a background on you. Me and Steve met probably 12 years ago now.
I think almost to the year, exactly. It was 2003 when I got in the mortgage industry and saw you at our first stepping stone in that process. I don't know if we want to say it out loud.
No, it's fine. We both started at a lovely little place that's now a mattress warehouse company on McLaughlin, formerly known as Willamette Mortgage. We met 12 years ago, and Steve obviously started in the mortgage business as well, and I'll let him dive into that. Now, of course, he's a top producing agent for Premier Property Group, part owner in the company. So he's come a long way. He's got a lot of experience. He's got a lot to say and a lot of good experience that he can pass on to you guys. So, Steve, without further ado, maybe give everybody out there in listener land a little rundown of your path so far in the real estate business and where you are today.
Sounds great, Tucker. So, as you mentioned, I got into the mortgage industry in 2003. I did go through a training program very briefly with that company where you and I first crossed paths, but I wasn't there for long. I actually didn't even sign up fully with them other than go through a little training session, run into you a few times. We also, you may not have mentioned yet, we also knew each other from club sport. In fact, that was one of the reasons I walked right up to you and said, hey, don't I know you from somewhere? And we put two and two together. But as far as real estate goes, I quickly from there joined another company. It was actually Pacific Northwest Mortgage. It was down on Macadam. Quickly rose through the ranks there. I was doing a significant amount of business in a very short amount of time. Became a partner there by 2006. I was eventually quickly running a team of about 8-9 different people, several loan officers underneath me, and just kind of making it happen in the mortgage industry. As that industry just went through some horrific times and the downturn, maybe some of you guys out there got the memo that there was a downturn, things just really changed. It stopped being fun. Some of the regulations came in. So I made the jump over to the real estate sales side. I got licensed in 2012. And kind of just took off from there. Since then, in just the 3 short years since I've been a realtor, I have again built up a team of 10 people. We are on track to close over $40 million this year. We'll do about 150 transactions plus. Here in the last 7 months, I've joined Premier Property Group and am an owner. Just for those of you that don't know out there, we're the second largest brokerage in Oregon and, of course, the Portland metro area, which is in Oregon as well. We have over 450 agents. In addition to being the owner, I am the VP of Sales and Marketing. So I create the marketing for all 450 agents within our company. I also come up with the systems of putting that marketing out there, selling for the different brokers. So I wear quite a few hats within real estate. I have in the past, and currently I have a great vantage point both as an agent in the trenches helping buyers and sellers, but also as an owner helping agents help buyers and sellers. So combined with my vast mortgage background, I'm excited to be here. I think there's quite a bit that you and I together, I know your background is similar in many ways, as well as you've gone in a different direction with building development, and you are a rock star in that arena. So I know when we get together, there's not many gaps that we have as far as expertise in real estate.
And that's one of the reasons that, besides, the fact that I like you, that I asked you to be our co-host here on the show. But I think that, you've got a great vantage point and, you've got a giant network of people. You're obviously an owner in Premier Property Group, which is a ginormous brokerage, second biggest in all of Oregon, which is huge. So you've got a lot to offer, not only to me. I'm always interested in picking your brain and seeing what you think of the real estate market, but also for everybody out there in listener land. So I want to thank you for joining us. I'm sure everybody over the course of time will be very thankful that I asked you to be our co-host on this show, and I'm glad that you accepted. With that being said, I'll kind of jump into giving everybody a rundown on who I am and why you might want to listen to me in regards to Portland real estate happenings. As Steve said, we met at Willamette Mortgage way back when in 2003. And prior to that, we'd met playing hoops at Club Sport, which any of you guys out there in listener land that have been to Club Sport, it seems like it's its own little universe. And whenever you see people from Club Sport, you're like, hey, you know. So it's kind of its own little community, which is cool. And I've actually met a number of other people, mutual friends that we have through there. My old business partner in my mortgage company was from there. So it's a great place. Anyway, I digress. So I left college, got a job at Willamette Mortgage. I actually stayed there longer than Steve, for good or for bad, and was probably there for about a year and a half. And then I left there to help build an America One finance office with a friend who actually worked at Willamette Mortgage as well, and he'd split off because he kind of wanted to take things in a different direction. I believed in his direction, so I joined him. In 2005, I was his top producing loan officer in the whole company, and at that point, I then decided to branch off and start my own company, which was TTM Finance. That was my own mortgage brokerage. I had that in place for a number of years. As Steve mentioned, mortgage business changed quite a bit in, I think it was August 2007 when the phone calls started coming in and all the banks started freezing our pipelines.
August 6th, if I remember the day.
Yeah, it was quite a day for those of us in the real estate business and more specifically in the mortgage business. It was basically the day the music stopped. And so from there forward, I kind of decided to change which direction the ship was headed myself, same as Steve did. Although instead of going into the real estate agency side of the business, I decided to get into renovating homes, which ultimately turned into building homes. So we started doing renovations in 2008. We've jumped into new construction in 2010. In 2013, I was the youngest builder to ever build in the Street of Dreams, which was one of 2 spec houses that year that we sold as soon as the show was over for just under $2 million. And today you've probably seen my company around if you've paid attention at all to people building homes in nicer parts of Lake Oswego and anywhere in Portland. My company is TTM Development Company, and we mainly build high-end homes throughout Lake Oswego and also some of the other higher-end neighborhoods all around Portland. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. And between the two of us, I feel like we've got a great network of people that we can tap for information as well as bring on the show and kind of get their opinion of, what's going on in the real estate market and any hot topics that may be worth talking about. And so that's me. That's Steve. And Steve, you got anything to add to that?
I do appreciate this forum. A lot of times I will get emails, phone calls from different people from throughout the real estate industry, not even just real estate. I mean, the mortgage side, escrow, they want to pick my brain. They want to meet for coffee, lunch, and, just talk shop. And unfortunately, with the hats that I previously alluded to my wearing, it's just not something I'm able to do as often as I would like. So having a format like this, Tucker, is just a great way for us to connect with people out there, them to send in their questions, us to be able to banter back and forth about our ideas and thoughts about this, and hopefully add some tremendous value to people. So again, I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm excited to get going on this.
Yeah, I'm stoked too. And so before we sign off for episode 1 here, I do want to give everybody out there in listening land a quick rundown of what they can expect now that they know who you are and who I am. So kind of the format of the show is going to be this. Episode 2 is going to be where we're going to talk a lot about what's going on in the Portland real estate market. And we're going to have a weekly show, but once every month, we're going to have a show that's almost purely dedicated to what is going on in the real estate market. What's inventory levels doing, days on market, how is the retail sales end of the real estate market going? And I think that's an important thing. There really isn't a place for people to go to get that information that's been digested by 2 people like you or me and then talked about. So that's going to be next week's show. In addition to that, we're going to talk a lot about what's going on in my business, what's going on in Steve's business. I think you guys will benefit a lot from hearing insight in things that we're dealing with in the real estate trenches. And I know I've got stories upon stories that I can always tell, and I'm sure, Steve, you've got the same.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as you and I have talked about this, I mean, our vision is really to provide anyone in Portland who cares about Portland real estate that one place that they can go to get that inside scoop from 2 guys who are just right there in the middle of it. We're going to have regular questions from our audience. We're going to have a Facebook page where they can provide those. We're going to have our website, which is up, that we can have listeners look to and see content there and provide material for us so that we can focus the show on what they want to hear from us. So, yeah. you might want to talk a little bit about, some of the guest speakers that we'll be interviewing with and just some of those formats as well.
Oh, yeah. In addition to having both of our takes on what's going on in the market and, happenings and headlines, between our two networks, we can pretty much get anybody who's anybody in the Portland real estate world to come on our show and get their perspective on certain things, too. So we're going to have 2 episodes a month where we actually have a guest on the show. We're going to talk to them about, what's going on in their side of the business, maybe get their thoughts on certain happenings or headlines within the Portland real estate market. And so we'll have people from, title company people to loan officers to potentially other real estate agents that maybe work within Steve's company to other builders, developers that I know. So anybody and everybody that we think would have an opinion or something to say that may benefit you guys out there in listener land as far as what's going on with the real estate market and, just other interesting things that you guys might like to hear about. So I'm stoked. I think it's going to be a great format, and I think we're going to have a lot of really cool stuff that comes from this show.
Exactly, Tucker. And I'm excited about next week's show. I know we're going to talk about a few things, but one of the things that I hear almost on a daily basis, especially in the wintertime, is just from seller after seller, should I wait till spring, summer, the warm season to sell my house? And any other experienced real estate agents out there, they've heard the same thing. And most consumers have a strong belief on that subject, and I can't definitively say that it is correct. So I'm looking forward to the opportunity to chat with you about that and give my firsthand take on summer versus winter, the pros and cons.
Yeah, that and a bunch of other stuff. And anytime we can kind of talk shop about the actual real estate market, especially right now with the crazy market that we're in. You and I have both ridden the market up and down a couple of times now. We've been around the block long enough to see things be good, be bad, be good again, be great again. And so there's a lot for us to talk about. It's a crazy, volatile market right now. So next week's show will be full of interesting happenings and things for us to chat about, that's for sure. So with that said, that's kind of what's going to be the rundown of the show. Steve, again, thanks for joining me for episode 1 here. I'm sure everybody will be happy to know that you're my co-host moving forward and looking forward to not only my perspective, but yours in next week's show.
Absolutely. Thanks again, Tucker, and looking forward to it.
All right, guys, this is the Portland Real Estate Podcast. I am your host, Tucker Merrihew. That's your co-host, Steve Nassar. We will see you guys next week on episode 2.
Thanks again for listening to our show, and make sure to tune in next week for another great episode of the Portland Real Estate Podcast.